in the early 70s when I was taking a graduate course in adult education and learned about what the Chautauqua Institution was. And when I started my professional work at the University of Alabama, I made it a point to visit the Chautauqua Institution. This was back maybe in the mid 70s, and loved it so much and really got very close to the pillars of the Chautauqua Institution of religion, arts, recreation, and what else? Education. I visited Chautauqua about 7 times during that period of 70s to the late 1990s, and just loved every minute of it. It's a phenomenal place. It's hard to describe. Everybody, I think, would love to experience Chautauqua. And of course, during that process of visiting the Chautauqua Institution, learned about the Chautauqua movement and the Chautauqua Trail and all the wonderful things that are happening around the country.
We likened the Chautauqua Institution, the 9 weeks you have in the summer, as Connie came up with the phrase, it's like Ollie on steroids. And we just could not believe what they had going on in those 4 pillars, whether it's even recreation and theater and opera and lectures, no matter what genre of literature or art or performance, they have something for everybody there. And I mean, you all the way down to ice cream shops. Peter's the one that started the idea that Athens, Chautauqua should be reborn. And I'm not sure if he knew it had been here before, over 100 years ago.
My family and I have been going to Chautauqua really every summer for 2 weeks for those 40 years. And when it's one of the hardest things on earth to describe what Chautauqua is. How many, show of hands, have y'all been to the Chautauqua Institute? Well, you must go. As soon as we finish this Zoom, go ahead and start packing your bags. It is the way we were meant to be together. And I don't know another way to describe it. It is literally, when my husband and I and our 5 children all arrived inside the gates, everyone dispersed. The town square and the Hall of Philosophy and the 5,000-seat amphitheater and the regattas on the lake and the string quartets, at the colonnade, and everyone deeply interested in everyone else's thoughts and lofty ideas, and it's just across, spiritually, recreationally, culturally, artistically, intellectually, but at the end of the day, it's the collaborative interest that the citizenry, the entire family has in making it the best mousetrap we possibly can for each other.
What's exciting to me is that there's going to be an opportunity to bring that program to Athens, and that I can't think of anything that Athens would be more receptive of.
I just thought it sounded wonderful. One of the things that's very important to me is preserving history for the future, for our children. I think that's extremely important. So, and I love the idea of performances and actors and a youth academy. So I said, well, I'm on board. And I've been really excited about everything that the society is trying to achieve.
Chautauqua appeals to all generations. From older adults to younger adults to children. It's a great thing for families to do together. And the thing that really convinced me of that was I went to a performance where a reenactor portrayed President Teddy Roosevelt. And after he did his act on stage, they started passing a microphone around the audience to let people ask questions. Well, a young boy stood up and addressed the president and said, when you were in the White House, did you have any pets? And Teddy boomed back, that's an excellent question. And he knew so much about Teddy Roosevelt, he launched into this story about how his 2 sons sneak their pony into the White House, up the stairs, into the bedroom of their sick brother. And Teddy concluded with, and Edith didn't like that at all. So anyway, I thought that was a great affirmation for this young man's curiosity. And so that's really what appeals to me is, you know, no matter how old we are, we continue learning, we are entertained, and I hope this goes on for many years.
I'm very excited about the prospects for the future where we continue this idea of history comes alive by presenting to our community, not only for residents of our community, but also maybe invited guests, people from other areas, including Atlanta, Augusta, Greenville, who want to come to Athens and see these performances. The one in October, tentatively scheduled, is the Three Palaces of Yalta, where the performer will do Winston Churchill, Stalin, and Roosevelt. And we really want to make a big difference in the Athens community for them to understand the history of Chautauqua and why it's such a wonderful benefit for our community.
It just seems to me that the goal and the mission is so exciting, and that starting out as a beginner with the help of Greenville, we have moved faster than I've ever seen an organization like this before. We have a working board. We're in the process of developing an advisory committee. We have sponsorship and cooperation from many organizations, both at the University of Georgia and the Athens community as a whole. And I think we're really set for the COVID virus to be behind us and to move forward. And I would expect within several years that we would be up and running and presenting many programs, both historical and theatrical and educational, which will be so exciting for our community.
This has been an unusual start. Traditionally, this is an outdoor, under the tent kind of a program. And then the pandemic hit. And interestingly, our original Chautauqua here in Athens ended in the 1900 pandemic. So here we get hit again. But the good thing is, Peter Balsamo was very savvy with using Zoom and bringing presenters in from afar. So he just pushed us right into virtual presentations. Now, the good thing about that is we have got people in our audience from all over the country, the Northeast, the Northwest. I've got a devoted couple from Texas, Houston, where I'm from, and they come to every single program. We've even had people from England join us. So going forward, even after the pandemic, I can see a role for continuing on Zoom, because it impacts so many lives all over the place. And who knows, maybe it'll help spawn a Chautauqua in their area.
There are two things that I want to say. One of them that I love in-person performances and events, but I also see how Zoom has really helped us to continue and to grow during COVID. So that was kind of a real blessing in disguise. It was like a little bit of a silver lining for such a dreadful event in our nation and the world. But when Art was mentioning the first event that we had at the Athens Public Library, I want to let you know that I was totally amazed. And we had two professors, one of them who's a retired law professor, another one is a retired theater professor, and then a civic activist, and then I was the moderator. Well, we were all excited about this. We arranged to have food. The library let us use the space, and we were thinking to ourselves for our very first event, well, maybe we'll get 25 people. Wouldn't it be great if we got 35 people? And lo and behold, we had 92 people show up. So for me, one of the things I love is a sense of community. The community has always been my family. And I couldn't believe it, for our very first event, to have 92 people show up. So it shows that we're on the right track. And it shows that we have an audience, that people really care. And what this does, what our group does, is it brings community together. And I think that is the ultimate goal.
The future of Chautauqua is very, very exciting because it just depends on the people who are involved in Chautauqua to find people who can and are willing to give performances to keep history alive.
Magic words, Athens Downtown Development Authority, ADDA, has been really, as a city partnership, is much, so much to be thankful for them. Without the help of Mike Hamby on the city council, he has been spearheaded so much in the background. Linda Ford, she's championed us all the way. When we have to show up for those meetings, she basically has convinced everybody that this was a good cause before we even stepped in the front of the door.
The Youth Performance Academy is a wonderful way to bring young people into history. As I mentioned before, it's when you see somebody perform, it just brings it alive. You can appreciate the emotion, what they went through, what they were thinking, more so than just reading a book.
One of the gentlemen that does some of the performances in Chautauqua, he related to us how being in drama as a kid in school changed his life. And I can see that with kids that maybe they come from disadvantaged homes, they may be bullied, they may not have athletic skills, but being involved in theater could change the whole trajectory of their life.